X1, ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to another round of your X1 season. We've taken 2 weeks off to cool down. We're back, and we are here for the British Grand Prix. Of course, it's myself, Joseph Black, aka Cockcast, here tonight, and well, alongside me, a new voice to ExA. He races in X4, and hopefully we're going to get a little bit better standards here in X1 tonight. Say hello, everybody, to Frostbreath.
Hi, good evening. So good to be here. I'm really excited to get this underway.
It should be a very good evening ahead of us of racing as, well, we may now have weeded out a couple of the ones that we weren't quite big fans of and who weren't quite big fans of us, and now we should have some very good racing on our hands, of course. We are... Well, this is the peak of EXA, and, well, we're very excited to bring you the action tonight. We have 20 drivers, or we should, on this field, and just look at some of these names. I do it every single time, but look at some of these names. We've got Abdullah Balash, we've got Luca Rapassa, of course, one of our championship contending drivers. Kian Godendorp as well, F1 Esports. And, well, there's just so many names on this grid. Of course, you haven't watched many of the X1 races, if any, so far, but whose name sticks out to you?
That's a great question. I mean, I know almost all of them. I'm trying to find out a name I haven't seen before, but I can't find any. So, a name that stands out for me, because I know him quite well from other leagues, is Lucas Beisner. In the Kick Sauber car tonight. That is definitely one I'm going to keep my eye on. Steven Vaso, very familiar name for me as well. Thomas Lang, Diego Zorzo especially. He's been very rapid in other leagues and team events too. So he should definitely provide some good qualifying result and race result at the very least. So yeah, there's a lot of drivers here. I'm looking forward to see how they perform in this league.
It should be a very interesting evening of action, of course. Silverstone throws up some incredible races, and well, tonight we should have another incredible race on our hands with X1 racing around. Of course, we've had a little bit of a shorter season that we have, and well, we're just having a few issues in the lobby, as always with X1, but well, we should be getting going within the next few minutes, and well, the potential is that Campbell Adams might not be racing tonight, but we shall see how that one transpires. But the likes of Sixten Linhart coming, and Tim Tornimo, of course, the great Tim Tornimo, will be joining later, and we have an incredible grid on our hands, and it was Gabor Shontos who actually ended up taking the victory last or in Belgium just a couple of rounds ago. China was a little bit more of a switch to the norm, and, P3 is the Scuderia with 140. It's going to be a very good evening indeed. But well, Britain can always throw up a surprise, can't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is one of those great tracks that's been around like forever, and you know, the drivers know this track really well. We know the track really well. Everyone knows it really well. So this is always one of those tracks that they practice from to pretty much down to the millimeter, so they will be on their top form in this track, and that means yeah, we're going to see some serious performances tonight.
Yeah, it will be an evening of some incredible action. We should have ahead of us, and well, it's about to get underway within the next few minutes. Of course, it is 7:05 as it stands, and we've got a couple more minutes to go as drivers are just sort of trying to work out what's going on with regards to everybody being in the lobby, but that will be sorted shortly, and well, keep an eye for all these sorts of things. Rob, I can screen share to you if needed, but
it looks like you're gonna have to, yeah.
That's all good. That is all good. So,
because otherwise I'll take up a spot of a driver, and I won't want to do that.
Well, yeah. Well, are you not fancying a drive tonight? Can you see that, by the way?
I can see you. Yeah, excellent.
Okay, Good. Right. Seamless? Possibly not, but working? Definitely. That's my Discord. I'm going to move that as well. We try and sort some other settings out, but it's always the case with these drivers. You know, they join late and then they expect it all to be set up, but it is what it is. We're not going to start until Reis leaves the Scuderia Ferrari, so we will wait for Reis to leave the Scuderia Ferrari. And fingers crossed that happens soon, because I'm just itching for the action to get underway, because
me too, actually.
It should be great. I mean, 26 laps around Britain, some short qualifying ahead of us, some incredibly quick times. We will be in for possibly some action that we've missed over the last few weeks. Of course, no PSGL last week or ExA because of F1 esports, but the second best F1 esports is here, and it is ExA, and we are here. We're here and ready to get going, as are some of the drivers. Of course, Luca Rapassa and Kian Gondorp leading up a Dutch 1-2 at the moment. How happy does that make you as a Dutchman to see?
It makes me a little bit proud, I have to admit. So, I mean, 2 Dutchmen at the top always means something to me. But to be fair, I'm quite I tend to be enjoying the objective kind of commentary. So, yeah, whoever is at top is the one that deserved it most and has raced the best after all. So, yeah, whether it's a Dutchman or not, I'm always interested to see the good races, the good racing from these drivers, and Anyway, a lot of Dutchmen actually in this highest tier. Here I see Luca Rapassa, Sam Arling, I see Kian Goedendorp, which is indeed pronounced with a guttural G.
Is it?
For all you Dutchies out there, yes.
Oh well, I'll try and do that.
Yeah, I mean apart from the Dutch people and the Flemish people and a little bit the German as well, they can do the guttural G. So don't be disappointed if it's not possible to do it. I mean, it's a difficult one to pronounce correcely.
Right, hang on, let me have a go. Is it Goldendorp? Right, hang on, let me have a go.
Almost.
The
guttural G was perfect. I have to say that.
Oh, good.
It's like it's Goedendorp.
Oh, Goedendorp.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Okay, right. We're on one tonight. We're off to a good start, and now we should be live on all 3 streaming platforms. So if you're joining us from Twitch, hello. If you're joining us from YouTube, hello. If you're joining us from TikTok, hello. I've got nobody else to say hello to, thankfully, but that is still 3 places where you can watch ExA. So you have absolutely no reason not to. And this will happen every single week, where we will have 3 streams on our hands in X1 at least.
It's the first for me, actually.
Is it the first time on TikTok?
Yes.
Is it, or
first for me? Yeah, it's first time actually. I have 3 different platforms to stream on at the same time, so that's quite awesome, actually.
And when I throw you in the deep end, I'm sure you'll be excited with all the logistic issues. I won't talk about that yet because it is your debut. I'll bed you into that one gradually as we go. We've got drivers out on circuits. We've got the British Grand Prix, or the first little bits of action of the British Grand Prix about to get underway. And I need to put this back into Do Not Disturb mode. So I will just do that, which is why we have paused. But after that, we will get the action underway, and we will get ready. And I'm very, very excited for this one. As my home race, of course, would be Rio's home race as well, but he is not here tonight. My home race, of course. It is a home race for a few of the drivers as well. It is a home race. Just having a look. A few of the drivers tonight is British, or is British racing? Oh, Louis Welch. Louis Welch and Tom Roberts are flying the flag for Britain tonight. But we do have 3 drivers who are not flying the flag for their countries tonight. They are not racing. Oh, 2 even that are not racing. It's Jacob Strode and Ben Marples who will not be racing at their home round. But are not racing. It's Jacob Strode and Ben Marples who will not be racing at their home round. Just looking at the calendar as well, we don't have a Dutch Grand Prix on our schedule.
What a shame.
I'm disappointed.
We
don't have a Dutch Grand Prix I'm not sure.
Anyway, I also noticed 2 drivers having retired. Do they have a qualifying ban then?
Potentially, but a lot of drivers, what they like to do is they do like to just start from the back. And I know that Angelo's done quite a lot of that. However, he has decided to go for a run today, and he's going on an outlap. So Golden Dorpin, Six and Linhart look as though they're just going to try and set a lap time at least. But I mean, I'll leave you, Rob, to run us through a lap of, as Angelo does actually end up coming into the pits. You can run through a lap of Luca Rapassa's.
Luca Rapassa, fellow Dutchman, going through turn 1 straight away, happily going through sector 1. Let's see what he can do from there. Of course, as you can see, ghosting is on, meaning a restart will be required by the end of this session. A little bit of a luck up there as he exits right through turn 4 and then onto the first back straight right there with DRS on at the moment. A few cars ahead of him. I believe they started their hot laps as well. Let's hope they do not provide any distraction to him whatsoever. And then, of course, turns 6 and 7. A long right-hander over here, trying to stay as much in the apex as possible. It looks like his car is quite happy to step out here and there. It might be a little bit nervous. Of course, it's just a banker lap, so trying to get a feel around the track, trying to get the feel around the car and the car setup as well, of course, right here in that Mercedes. Then, onwards to the twisty section over here, the turns 10 through 14. Let's see how he negotiates these corners right here. Looking quite nice there indeed. Just hitting the curbs nicely, staying within the white lines, coming onto the next straight. You can see the car ahead is getting closer and closer, that meaning that Rapassa is definitely faster than the Aston Martin ahead. We can see Race Imch is getting disqualified for parking in a dangerous location. Not sure what's going on there. Let's hope it wasn't too bad. We can see Lucas Beisner, first lap time of the night, 25.8, as Luca Rapassa comes around the final corner. Thomas Lang, 25.9, and indeed does Rapassa go faster. 25.5, a strong start to the session for him. Provisional pole right away. His teammate Takubi has slotted into P6 now, with exactly 0.4 of a second behind Pascal Ranieri. Then overtakes Rapassa on provisional pole with a 25.4. The lap times are dropping quite rapidly. 9 drivers have set a lap time so far. So all in all, a good start for those of them.
Yeah, there's a few lap times that have come in now. Well, it's almost half the field, and well, a quarter of the field have decided that they don't want to take part. I'd imagine Race Imtiaz is one of those who has decided not to take part, as Tom Roberts invalidates around the penultimate corner and will not set a lap time. Gabo Shontos is unfortunately back to his times being at the rear of the field. A 26.4 is 0.5 off anybody else as it stands at the moment. I'm not sure why, by the way, Twitch, you're getting about 3 FPS, but I'll try and sort that one for you, because I can also see that issue. And, well, I will try to bring you the action as soon as I can potentially get it. But worst case scenario, what I'll have to do is I'll have to kill the TikTok stream, which should be fine. I mean, who cares about TikTok anyway? Not me, at least. And, well, is this any better? I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. No, it's not. Okay. Right, I will be right back. It wouldn't be a X1 stream without any tech issues, at least. And, well, we'll try and sort that one at the moment. But Pasquale Ranieri, a reserve driver for this evening, going up there to P1. That's a turn up for the books.
Oh, he's definitely showing he wants potentially more than a reserve seat, perhaps. Just showing off right there, 1.2 tenths quicker than Luca Rapassa at the moment. And surprisingly, I said there were 9 drivers with a lap time, and there's still only 9 drivers with a lap time. You can see Sam Arling, Diego Zorzo, and several others on an outlap at the moment. Campbell Adams at the bottom of the table, also currently driving towards the line. You can see on the minimap right there, the Haas car of Steven Vaso is on his way to the line at the moment to start his hot lap. Let's see where he can take his car compared to the rest. Around the final corner he goes, and that means his lap is going to get underway right now. There he goes then. Time has started. Where can Steven Vaso go? We're trying to find his teammate. Of course, that was Race Imches, who has been disqualified by the game for parking in a dangerous location. Now, of course, the game can consider parking in a dangerous location for many reasons. One of them is trying to get out of the way on the grass just at the exit of the pit lane, which the game thinks is very dangerous. which of course doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. But Steven Vaso on his way at the moment. Sector 1, 27.2. That is purple sector according to the game, of course. We'll have to take that one with a grain of salt. Then headed on towards in sector number 2, all the way towards turn number 9. Onto the original pit straight, so to say, where it used to be the race start right here. You can still see some pit boxes in the background right there. Then, of course, coming up is all the Maggots and Beckets in the turn names that I do not remember, unfortunately. I do know the turn numbers, but not the names, and that is very interesting indeed. Then the end of sector number 2, DRS on as well. You can see one of the Red Bulls there weaving as they warm up their tires. 1 minute 2.3 for Steven Vaso. Where will that put him? At the moment, it's recently tight at the top, especially between P2 and 3. There is about half a tenth in between both Luca and Abdullah. With Steven Vaso, let's see where he can put his car. Round the final corner he goes as we get some pause menu right there. I cannot tell you what time it is, but I can tell you now. It is the fastest of them all. A 1 minute 25.4, which is very quick indeed, but only half a tenth faster. For 8 minutes in this second attempt for Steven means that Pascal definitely has a shot at overtaking him at the top.
I think there is a lot of time to find at the top, demonstrated by Steven Vaso and now Diego Zorzo, who goes up with a 25.3, and Campbell Adams as well going up there 25.4. I said there was a lot of time to find. I'm being proven right straight away. Sam Arling holds the world record at Abu Dhabi, and well, there's not much else to his racing career so far, at least here at ExA. But he's going to try and now put a time on the board as he heads around the final corner. It's valid, and what time is it going to be? It's going to be a 25.8. which slots him in that mid-pack and slots him in P10. Louis Welch and Tom Roberts. Louis Welch has just started on a lap. Tom Roberts has invalidated on his one. No, he hasn't. He's heading through the second sector. That was Tim Tornimo who's decided to finally turn up, and Tom Roberts 1:02 in the first 2 sectors. He's going to try and head through the third one now and sorts himself out as he comes up to the line. And, well, round the final corner, he's going to come. Where is the Red Bull going to put himself? Louis Welch is in the first sector, so he's got a few more to go. But as they come up to the line, it's going to be Tom Roberts who's going to set a 1:25.4 and slot into 5th place. Louis Welch has just headed out of that first sector. The second runs are beginning. The first one for Welch and Tornimo, and we'll see where the Red Bull and the Ferrari are able to slot themselves as Vaso comes into the pits after setting the lap that puts him on the front row.
Yeah, that's Louis Welch invalidated coming out of the exit of turn number 9. Of course, a very common place to accidentally go a little bit too wide, causing your lap to be invalidated. Luca Rapassa then improves his lap time by about 0.2 of a second, overtaking Diego Zorzo for provisional pole. It really looks like we're going to have an epic battle for that coveted pole position here in Silverstone tonight. And it's the Dutchman back on top once again as Louis Welch comes into the pit lane. And you're going to have to try again later. With 8 minutes remaining, though, the pressure is starting to pile on for himself and Tim Tornimo as well. However, Tim, as you can see, is on his way. Yes, you said he's joined a little bit later in the lobby. He's here right now, which meant, of course, I had to make room for him right there. Goes a little bit wide, but frankly, the game considers that to be quite valid. I believe his right side tires did go outside of the white lines, but might have seen it a little bit wrongly right there. But it looks like lap is still on for him. End of the second sector, 1 minute 2.9. Let's see where that is going to put him indeed. Is it going to be enough for the top 10? We'll find out in a few seconds, as Tim Tornimo only has a few more corners to negotiate. That is, of course, the turns 16, 17, 18. The car looking a little bit unstable. Whoa, going over the curbs right there. And his car nearly going left instead of right across the line. It's only a 26.6. Not surprising. There were quite a few mistakes right there in his lap. And that means he's going to be at the bottom of the times so far.
Yes, bottom of the times so far for Tim Tornimo. Well, he's now 7/10 off the rest of the field as Gabo Shontos was able to improve on his lap and go up into the top 10 with a 9th placed 25.6. And, well, not a bad start. Rio, by the way, who is not commentating tonight, has put all the corner names for your viewing pleasure, Rob, in the YouTube chat. So turn 1 is called Abbey, turn 2 is Farm, turn 3 is Village, turn 4 is Loop. Then Aintree, Brooklands, Luffield, Woodcut, Copse, Maggots and Beckets, turn 10 to 13. Then turn 14 is Chapel, turn 15 is Stowe, turn 16 to 18 is Vale, and then the club chicane. So there we go, 18 corner names to refer to, and I can't wait to not refer to any of them as we head through this session. 6 minutes left in the session, and well, we've got a few more laps to be put in.
Indeed, 6 minutes remain. Tim is going to come back into the pit lane. You can see many other drivers out for their second or third even attempt as time is ticking away. They're going out now, which means they should just have enough time to come out one more time. Because, you know, this pit lane is notorious for being extremely slow and extremely long, which means they're going to have to time their runs to perfection. I believe the only two drivers right now are on a hot lap. That's Lucas Bijster and Steven Vaso. We followed Steven Vaso before. He's a provisional pole contender, so we're going to follow Lucas Bijster in the Sauber. One of those drivers I mentioned before we went to the track that I wanted to keep an eye on. He's sliding right there through Lovefield, which means he's definitely putting the power down as early as he can. Then, of course, on to the straight right here, the old starting grid right there, going very wide, Lucas Bijster, and of course, because of that, his lap has come to an end. And that is a shame. I didn't see how his improvement was in Sector 1, but that definitely means he's going to have to try again. Look at that, a lot of lockups as well. So we switched to Steven Vaso right here. Appears to be right behind Lucas. Also has invalidated, but he was about a 10th quicker through the middle sector, which is unfortunate, but it also shows that these drivers, Joseph, are pushing really hard, aren't they?
They are. They're pushing to the absolute limit. We've got some drivers here who are the quickest on at least F124 as Louis Welch heads through the first sector, 27.190. And it means that they are going to push each other to the very limit as Campbell Adams retires. It looks like he's crashed. And I'll try and get the point of view of Sam Arling as he goes past. That was an awful camera angle in terms of what I wanted to see, and that is the wrong Aston Martin again. So we won't get a shot of where Campbell Adams crashed, but very unfortunate for him. And now he finds himself out of the session. And, well, a lap time of 25.4. Not too bad at the moment, but with 4 minutes left in the session with, well, how many drivers is that now? 15 drivers ready to bear down on you. I don't think it's going to be enough. With the evolution we've had so far, with the evolution we're going to have towards the end of this session, I don't think 25.4 will even be enough for maybe even the top 10.
Well, we're going to find out. It's definitely for certain that Tim Tornimo's lap is not really helping him out at the moment. Louis Welch, there he goes, 25.4, as you mentioned. Not enough for the top 10 at the moment, just enough for the top 5. He goes 3 milliseconds quicker than the Ferrari of Campbell Adams, who just crashed out coming out of Chapel, which is very unfortunate, which once again proves that they are pushing to the absolute limit. Just showing that this track is so familiar among these drivers that they are really preparing and to sacrifice themselves to go to the very limits in the hopes of not crashing out. You see right here, Gabor Chantos coming back in. He was 3/10 quicker through the middle sector, but he's decided to abandon his lap. Not sure why he would do that, but he's going to have to try again. With 3 minutes remain, he's going to have to hurry up. Here comes Takubi, Rapassa's teammate, who's still sitting on provisional pole. He's also coming in, 25.500 at the moment, P8. And then, of course, Tim Tornimo on his second attempt onto the Wellington Straight. He's got a 26.6 to his name, which is well away from provisional pole. Let's see where he's made the major mistakes. Well over a 10th quicker in Sector 1. Ooh, once again, oh my goodness me, there he goes. Tim Tornimo spins around. I'm not sure. It looks like an issue potentially with the setup because his car looks extremely unstable. And that means time is running out for him. He's going to have to recharge his battery quick, then try again and hope his car will keep him onto the grey stuff.
I mean, he's hoping so at least. And, well, he's got not long left in the session to set a lap time. He will be coming down to the final couple of moments. Louis Welch as well retired from the session. Campbell Adams crashed in the quote-unquote dirty air of the car in front of him, as Tom Roberts thinks that lap time might be enough as well, but he's 4 thousandths off of Luca Rapassa. So if I was him, I would have given it another go, but there we go. He comes into the pits. We've got a number of drivers coming out of the pits. Pasquale Ranieri could potentially be on a push lap. Indeed he is, and he's up by 0.02 of a second in the first sector, and in the second, he's improving by a 10th. So he's doing pretty well so far, hoping that McLaren gets out of the way. Indeed, he does. And, well, around the final couple of corners comes Pasquale Ranieri. Where is the ABS man going to put himself, as the current pole time is just under a tenth ahead? Ranieri is going to come around the final couple of corners. There's just over a minute left in the session, so this is his final attempt. And what an attempt it is!
Wow.
25.178. And Pasquale Ranieri, he's sent a statement to the rest of the field.
He's also sent a statement to the pit wall right there. As you can see, he's gone really, really quick. And that just shows the track evolution you were talking about earlier. And that 1 minute 25.4 not being good enough for the top 10 is starting to ring awfully true. If Pascal can find that much time, that does mean the track has evolved quite a lot indeed. Diego Zorzo, one of those drivers you could easily see on pole position. He goes half a tenth quicker in Sector 1. Not that much of an improvement yet. Oh, Pascal! What has he done? He's just disqualified himself from the session by standing still too long, and there goes his provisional pole position. I'm not entirely sure what on earth is going on. That's the second driver right now we see getting disqualified for that very reason. So there is something going on tonight, and I believe it happened at almost the exact same place. As Diego Zorzo just continues on, and probably has seen the message as well, many more drivers might be confused at what's going on tonight. 77 milliseconds quicker for Diego Zorzo. That pole position that Pascal had is suddenly starting to look a little bit far away for Diego, unless he can find a lot of time in Sector 3. I wonder what's going to happen to Pascal's lap time. It might be reinstated, as the game tends to disqualify for other reasons that are very unfair as well. We'll have to find out by the end of the session. For now, though, Diego Zorzo coming across the line. He does take that provisional pole with a 1 minute 25.2. However, that was not as quick as Pascal was.
Yeah, Pasquale will hold on to that pole position. And, well, the other drivers are now... They're not going to have a physical benchmark, but they're going to have a mental benchmark that they're going to try to beat. I believe it was a 125.17 something. So it should...
Yeah, 7.8, I believe.
178. Okay, so that's not too bad. Tim Tornimo has run out of fuel heading up to the line, so he will only do a 26.6, and he will start almost at the back of the field. Sam Arling jumps Lucas Beisner into P13, with Beisner in 14th behind. Abdullah Balaish comes around the final couple of corners. Where can the Aston Martin go? His teammates finished the session in 7th place. Balaish will go just behind in 8th, and that is a decent lap time that will put him on the 4th row of the grid. He's actually been knocked off of the 4th row of the grid by Gabor Shontos, who demonstrates his pace once again. He did it in Belgium, and now he's doing it here. Gabor Shontos starts at the front row of the field after setting, in those first lap times, the slowest of them all. So Gabor Shontos here, showing that he's got the pace when it counts.
Oh yeah, definitely. Of course, that's going to be P3 once Pascal's lap is reinstated. That means Pascal will be starting on pole position if that happens, and by about half a tenth away from Diego Zorzo. So the battle for the win, with the field being this close, is going to be quite epic indeed. And look at the difference between P2 all the way down to P5 right there, all within a 1/10 of a second. Then there, of course, is Louis Welch all the way down to Kubi, also all within a 1/10 of a second. So the field is definitely closely matched here around Silverstone, which definitely promises some good racing coming up.
Yes, it should be good racing with these drivers and Diego Zorzo. The Cypriot took that pole position alongside Gabor Shontos. He will start as Shontos almost a tenth behind. Rapassa just over a tenth behind Diego Zorzo, with Tom Roberts down in P4, and then it's Vaso, Welch, Adams and Lang. Welch, Adams and Lang separated by 6 thousandths of a second, and then Balaish, Takubi, Tanasi, Lamas, Arling, Beisner, and then Tim Tornimo, the final lap finisher, with Linhart, D'Artenzio, Godendorp and Imtiaz disqualified. And of course, Pasquale Ranieri will be taking that pole position, hopefully, as we head into the race. There is a little bit of discussion about it, but yeah, he will potentially start from pole position. Campbell Adams, interestingly enough, has asked to be put at the back of the field because he's having wheel issues. And he doesn't want to ruin anybody's races. So that's a very interesting decision there for the Australian. Not quite sure I don't really understand it, mainly because even if he starts at the back of the field, he's still racing people So I'm not 100% certain on what or why he wants to do that. But Campbell still wants to start at the back of the field. And, well, we will see how that one transpires across the next couple of minutes. But, well, this is the start. This is the faux race start that we should have. And, well, this will be very exciting, won't it? As all the drivers try to, put it in a nice way, die before everybody else. And, well, a number of them already retiring. That's someone slamming into the wall. A McLaren, I believe that was. Not retiring. That was Sam Arling. That was embarrassing there, to be honest. Somebody's done a Guan Yu Zhou, gone off straight. I believe that may have been Louis Welch. And now everybody else just trying to retire or disqualify themselves. And we will be going to 26 laps of Silverstone. Just not quite yet. We've got to be patient and we've got to wait for the lobby to be reset, for ghosting to be turned back off, because, of course, this game is not without its issues. Race probably thinks that this is a regular X1 race, but I promise you, Race, it is not. And he's now going to try and, there we go, retire. And, well, 20 cars will line up on the grid in the next few minutes. And we will be getting underway here in Silverstone for round 5 of your X1 season.
This is interesting news, actually. I'm watching the chat like you are as well in the Discord. And according to Angelo D'Ortenzio, Pascal Ranieri wants to start at the back, which is why he disqualified himself. Apparently, we haven't got any confirmation from Pascal himself. I can see him typing in the Discord right now. So in a few moments, we will get confirmation one way or another. So we'll find out whether a pole sitter will actually start from pole or at the tail end of the entire field, whether it's ahead of Campbell Adams or behind. We don't yet know either, of course. I do hope Campbell Adams' wheel issues will be fixed. But I have to say as well, one driver that wasn't able to pull off the pole position that perhaps some drivers were expecting him to do is Luca Rapasa, who claimed provisional pole position twice throughout the session, and by the end just couldn't pull off the ultimate lap, starting from, I believe it was P3 if Pascal starts from the back. So yeah, might have made a mistake somewhere, didn't improve as much as he would have liked, but still a decent result, perhaps a little disappointed. We'll see what he can do from there.
Yeah, it's the crunch time moments where it really defines a driver, and I think Luca Rapasa there, he's shown so many times, just like in Abu Dhabi last year, those who know. But he's not showing that same sort of thing in qualifying, at least tonight, as we've had one driver leave the session. I wonder who that would be. And, well, we're going to try and get them back in ASAP. Rio Harris coming into the chat saying his best lap was better than Tim Tornimo's. And, well, the X3 stat padder strikes again, as he would have qualified P15 on this X1 grid. But we should be getting going very, very soon. And X1 will be ready to get underway very, very soon. Pascal will be starting from pole position. Campbell will be starting from P8. And so the grid will line up as thus. Pasquale Ranieri on pole position with Diego Zorzo in P2. Then it's Gabor Shontos and Luca Rapasa on the second row of the grid. Tom Roberts will be taking that P4 in the Red Bull alongside Stephen Vaso with Louis Welch. 7/10 off of Roberts, 700ths off of Roberts. 7/10 will be quite a big gap. And then Campbell Adams alongside him will be starting in P8. Then it's Thomas Lang in P9 with Abdullah Balash, making it an all Aston Martin 5th row of the grid. Then it's Takubi and Ayana Tanasi on the 6th row with Alex Lamas and Sam Arling on the 7th. Sam Arling in his first full-time appearance for McLaren. Then it's Lucas Beisner in P15 alongside Tim Tornimo. And then it's all the drivers who chose to be disqualified, essentially, with Sixten Linhart, Angelo D'Ortenzio, Kian Godendorp, and then Race Imtiaz rounding out the field. Oh, sorry, Kian Godendorp.
Almost.
Ah, I forgot how the O's supposed to be, but
it's like an ooh sound.
Okay, Godendorp.
Like I think fascinated by something. Ooh.
I'm fascinated by the fact that you pronounce things not in letters, from the sounds of things, more like a guttural sound.
That's the thing with Dutch. There's like two letters that if you combine them, you pronounce them entirely differently. Like the O and the E together forms an oo. And an O and an U together forms like an ow. And there's also an A and a U together. It forms the same kind of pronunciation, also an ow. But, that's the difficulty of the Dutch language, which is definitely a subject for another time. As we're waiting for the grid to get set up, I can see all the drivers in the lobby right now. All 20 of them are back in business. Campbell is very worried that he's going to tip somebody around in turn 1. He's saying sorry in advance. It looks like they are not allowing him to start from the back. He's going to start from, I believe it was P8. And he actually finished at the end of qualifying, as you said. And he's very worried about that. But I think starting from the back isn't going to do him much good either, because that means he will have all the cars in front of him, which might make it even worse. But we'll see whether or not he's going to accidentally take out people come turn 1. Other than that, Pascal, I believe, does start from the back. Actually, he's requesting to start from the back, but it might be that they're going to do the same treatment to him as they did to Campbell and not allowing him, meaning he's going to start from pole position. We'll have to find out when the race starts.
Yes, we will. And well, it should be very, very soon that the race does start. Of course, some drivers, Tenzio and Linhart, on the penultimate row of the grid, they're excited, they've readied up already, and they're ready to get going. We will be going very, very soon for another round of your X1 season. Finally, we're back, and how exciting is that, of course. We haven't been back for a couple of weeks. There was a break week for F1 esports, and there was a week as well for potential driver issues. And I'm sincerely hoping Campbell Adams, if he does have wheel issues, gets out of the way. But I mean, starting from P20 doesn't really make any sense. I think you're right, because he would be starting from the back, and if he has wheel issues, he could drive into somebody, or he could have some sort of, if he's got pedal issues, he could just go into the back of somebody and just, I don't really understand the logic behind starting last as opposed to P7. I guess the middle of the grid. I don't know. I don't know what Campbell's thinking, but whatever he's thinking, he is not happy with the decision to go into P8. But that is where he will start, and we will have 26 laps of the British Grand Prix right ahead of us here in X1. And, while we've got a moment, we may as well talk about the British Grand Prix circuits. It's 5.891 miles, or 3.660 kilometres. Oh, no, other way around. 5.891 kilometres, 3.660 miles, with 2 DRS zones. One down near the back and one after the first couple of corners. Not too many elevation changes, of course. 16, 17 and 18 being the lowest parts of the circuit, but the sausage curbs there make it feel as though it's not quite that. But it is one of the most exciting races and one of the most exciting tracks on the calendar. It has been on the calendar for a very long time. And it was, of course, the first Formula One race in 1950, all the way back at the very dawn of the day. 75 now years later, as we are here in the virtual world, ready to get underway for another round of your X1 season. And it's a round of X1 that could throw something different up. They won't have been expecting this. There's rain in the session. I think this looks like interconditions, and indeed it does. But, that could throw something into the mix.
Well, I mean, it's Great Britain, so the rain is not that surprising, isn't it?
Well,
I mean, I think I just saw them saying in the chat that many races this season have been in the rain. So there's going to be another one added to the list of wet races this season, if I have to believe the drivers in the Discord. So whether they like it or not, it's going to happen. The drizzle is coming down, and soon we'll find out if the weather is going to improve later down the line, or whether we'll have a wet race all throughout, which would be a very British thing. Also, it would be a very Dutch thing as well, just to let you know.
Is it? I mean, to be fair, Zandvoort's in the sand dunes, so I'm not really too... Well, I mean, we had rain there, I think, in 23 when Guan Yu Zhou was in P3 for a very long time. But yeah, I mean, I believe it was Belgium and Brazil, if I'm recalling correctly, that were wet to dry races. And this could be yet another one, as we're going to head to the 5 red lights here in Britain. X1 is back. And the action is underway. Pasquale Ranieri's going to try and get a good start as everyone gets off tentatively. Diego Zorzo tucks in behind in P2 and Gabo Santos tucks in P3. Rapassa and Roberts were going to go side by side momentarily. But the exit for Roberts means that the door is open for Steven Vaso to dive down the inside. Rapasa is trying to defend behind as there's 3 wide between Vaso, Roberts and Welch. Pasquale Ranieri is holding on to the win in the meantime ahead of Diego Zorzo. But as they come out of the first 3 turns, Pasquale gets a massive kick of oversteer, and he's going to drop so far down the field. P10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
He's slowing down.
He's falling all the way down the order, and now he's down into P19, the only driver behind Campbell Adams, whose wheel issues have clearly cost him a lot of time. But within the first lap of this Grand Prix, within the first sector, Diego Zorzo now leads. Xontos is in P2.
Yeah, I saw Campbell Adams going straight in turn 1. His predictions ringing pretty much through. So he made sure he went out of the way, literally, from the other drivers as soon as he could. As we can see here, Takubi and Thomas Lang going side by side. One of the Red Bulls there has gone off and back on the track. That was Louis Wells, gets a 3-second penalty for it. Might be a removable one unless he went onto the track a little bit too quick right there. Into P6 he is for now. There comes the Aston Martin of Abdullah. Oh, sorry, that's actually Thomas Lang behind the Mercedes with Takubi right there, as he wants to join his teammate up to P9. But so far, I really can't get past. Diego Zorzo now leads the race from Gabor Chontos and Luca Rapasa. Tom Roberts P4, Steven Vaso at the moment in P5. We follow Takubi onto the straight right there, the Hamilton straight, the start-finish. We start lap 2. We saw Alex Lamas pushing Louis Welch through the pretty much the main straight right there. You can see him trying to hold off from behind there, Abdullah Boulaish as well. So he's going to have to attack and defend at the same time. But Louis Welch does have that penalty. Maybe that takes a little bit of pressure away from attacking the driver ahead of him for Alex Lamas, as they once again go onto the Wellington Straight right there. The gap between Alex and Abdullah is incredibly tight. Is Abdullah going to make a move in the wet? Of course, that's a little risky. We see in the background, Kian Goedendorp going for a move on his fellow Dutchman, Sam Arling, as he moves up into 13th place. Of course, that is, I believe, in the points right there, according to the the way the points are divided here in this particular league. There he goes into 13th place, and that means he's on the move. Sam Arling, though, does keep on the pressure, and Race Imtiaz is also moving. He started from last, he's now up to 15th, made up 6 positions already, so he's definitely on his way to the points.
Yeah, at the moment, not doing too badly. Race Imtiaz says yellow flag once again. Sixten Linhart has had an awful start to this race, and after coming in last minute and saying he could race, it has not worked out for him. It's side by side for P number 4 with Tom Roberts and Steven Vaso. Vaso trying to hold it around the outside, going the long way around, but can't quite make that move stick. And he's going to try again. Once again around the long way. Contact between the two. Ooh. As Vaso just gets a little bit squeezed into the corner. Not much room afforded. And a 10-second time penalty heads his way as there's further contact between himself, Welch and Lamas. And just coming back onto the circuit, potentially, arguably dangerously, has taken out Welch's front wing and Alex Lamas's as well. So that is not what they would have wanted to see. And now P4 is 3.1 seconds back. And Vaso still not demonstrating some racecraft here.
This is decent, I think. He's just literally mounting the Mercedes right there. It's a little unusual what we're seeing right here. The top 3 has just driven away completely. 4.2 seconds now between P4 and P3. I've never seen anything like it in all the leagues I've been commentating so far. Kian Goedendorp is happily just plowing his way through the field. He's already up to P8. Never mind, back down to P9 because there's Tim Tornimo also showing he's definitely got the race pace. His qualifying just was an unlucky bit right there. He's going to try and take Abdullah Boulaish, trying to go on the inside to him as well, but backs out wisely doing so indeed. As he has already realized he's made up 8 positions in 2.5 laps time, meaning that he's already doing a great job. But now this group has got the awful job of trying to catch the front 3, and that means they're going to have to work together. And so far, from what I've seen, working together is not something they'd like to do at the moment. You can see they're retiring. Sixten Linhart and Campbell Adams are having something together at the back of the field. Not sure what was going on right there, but it has definitely caused a virtual safety car. Will that help the front group, or sorry, the second group, to close the gap to the front runners for now, unless it gets converted into a full safety car. But the gap is already there. We're barely 3 full laps in, and chaos has already unfolded. Of course, Steven Vaso's penalty was more than justified. He cut the corner way too aggressively and way too quickly. So there's no reason for the FIA, I think, to remove that penalty as far as I am concerned. But that really isn't up to me, to be honest. But still, he should have waited until he was back in his original position and then continued on his race, and then maybe the penalty wouldn't have happened at all. But for now, he's in P5, and let's see if they can recover the good racing. There they go once again. Jonatanasi is trying to hold. Angelo D'Ortenzio actually is behind, but he can't really do that. Looks like Angelo's got more grip round the outside. Some cars ahead of them going off track as well as we get back to green flag racing. 3 cars are gonna go side by side into Brooklands. Who's come out best? Looks like the Mercedes nearly had it right there, but Kian Goedendorp is on an absolute roll. He's on P7 already. Tried to go around the outside of Takubi right there. Can he successfully manage to get past? Same goes for the Ferrari of Tim Tornimo, who's also on a huge roll from the back of the field, from 16th already up into 9th, and trying to take Abdullah Boulaish from the outside. Well, nearly worked, but he went a little bit too wide, broke a little bit too late, and that cost him now 2 positions from P8 back down to P10. As you can see, more drivers going side by side. Angelo D'Ortenzio wants to take a leaf out of Tornimo's and Kian's book as well, as he wants to get past and get rolling too. He started from 18th already up to 9th. So many drivers have benefited from the chaos in front. And now they're actually fighting for the points already. We're barely 4 laps in, and there they are. Whoa, there goes one of the Williams. He drifts through the camera field of view right there. That is Jonatanasi, as he was trying to make up places. He's fallen down the order, but he's still within the group, still within reach of the front of this field right here, all the way up to P4. They're still fighting for a position. That's Abdullah Boulaish trying to keep Tim Tornimo behind. Also, Reis Imtiaz is getting very close to for an overtake there as well. There they go. Looks like differences in setups are definitely helping a lot. There he goes. That's Kian Goedendorp going up to P5 already from 19th to 5th. That is an almighty race for him so far.
Yes, what a race so far from Goedendorp and also Angelo D'Ortenzio to make their way up, as there looks to be a little bit further contact behind. Tim Tornimo and Alex Lamas have dropped to the back of the pack. And, well, that's further incidents in this race, as some of us are just getting a little bit over racy, I think, for example, I think Steven Veso is very lucky to still be in this race after that rejoin, but he's now 6.4 seconds off, and the top 3 all but guaranteed that podium as they head through lap number 5, so they're only a fifth of the way through the race, and they're already racing their way away from everybody else. But what can Goedendorp do as he follows Veso through? I'm doing my best, Rob. He's going to follow in the slipstream. He's going to follow in the slipstream as they head down the straight, but it's not quite enough. Abdullah Boulaish is going to maybe potentially shape up a move on Sam Arling, but not quite yet, as Takubi makes his way past Tom Roberts, but Tom's going to try and fight it down the inside. Takubi's trying to go the long way around the outside, but he can't quite do it. The switchback potentially for the Mercedes as he comes out of the final corner. It's so close, but just enough space from Tom Roberts given, and Takubi's going to have to sit behind. The exit, though, was compromised, and through goes Angelo D'Ortenzio. He makes his way up to P7, and his next target now is Tom Roberts. It's his second race in a row where he's scythed his way through the field, and he could be making his way up once again. P6 is where he sits. Roberts sending it to the inside. D'Ortenzio the long way around. Roberts only just affording him a car's width, and there's contact between the two as Tom Roberts, slight slide on the exit, and he drops down behind Takubi, but luckily not too much time lost there as a late dive there from Tom Roberts. He could be making his way past Takubi, or he could not, and he sits just behind. Smart move to back out of that one, and Reis Imtiaz sliding his way through. Boulaish is going to try and take advantage of that, but Imtiaz just taking the right line, and he will hold on to P10 for now. So mistakes being drawn out in this wet weather, and at the moment, it's looking very, very dicey for a few of those drivers.
Yeah, Campbell Adams now with the fastest lap of the race. He will need a safety car to get back in contention, but at least it is showing some hope for him in terms of race pace. We can see Kian now hounding Steven Vaso for another position, and he's already taken it away from him. As quick as you blink with your eyes, he's passed and up into P4. Now he is going to have to try and catch the top 3. They've already taken a few tenths out of their lead. It looks like especially Gabor Chontos is dropping off fast from the top 2 drivers. 2 seconds between himself and Luca Ripassa already. And that means Kian could potentially close the gap as well. We can see right here Lucas Beisner and Abdullah Boulaish. We can also see that Yona Tanasi as well as Reis Imtiaz have decided to pit. I can't really see it from the screen share whether the rain has stopped or not. But it would be interesting to see what tires they're going to switch to. You can see right here that they're already 6 laps old, and we're going to find out very soon which tires they're going to take on. They are going to take on dry tires, which means weather change is coming up, and that should prove exciting. Have they made the right choice or not? They realized we haven't got a lot to lose, so let's try this anyways and see where we're going to finish once everybody else is pitted. We're going to have to keep an eye on those timings between Alex and Race to see whether the dry tires have been the right choice.
Yes, and I mean, it's an interesting call at this point. It does look as though the rain has stopped, but at the same time, it doesn't look particularly nice as Tanasi demonstrates that it might be a little bit too greasy, and he runs off the circuit on that new set of softs. And, well, it won't be a tyre temperature issue because those tyres get up to temperature pretty quickly. But Tanasi just struggling there on the exit of the first corner and demonstrating that it's probably not quite yet time for a dry set of tyres. Thomas Lang's coming under pressure from Alex Lamas. They're all sliding through these corners, really, really pushing the limits of these cars. And Alex Lamas taking advantage of that slide from Lang and moving his way up to P14. As it stands, and well, they're both in for points as it stands, but doing pretty well. There's more coming into the pits on this occasion. Gabor Chontos from the lead pack comes in, and he will be switching onto a set of, you would imagine, dry compound tyres on lap 8 of this race. So it's an earlier switch. Indeed it is. It's the mediums that he's going to try and make last the rest of this race. Of course, the regular strategy around here is medium soft or soft medium, and so those mediums are expected to last a very long time anyway. Soft's interesting call for Iron Up Tanasi, but, I mean, if you've not got much to lose, it sort of makes sense to hope for a safety car at this point, but everybody else on those mediums coming in. Gabor Chontos comes out in P10, 12.6 seconds off of Alex Lamas. Keep an eye on that gap as we head through the next few corners, as I think Tanasi might be giving it up. Yep, he's calling it a day, and he comes into the pits and retires on lap 8 of this Grand Prix, and, well, the top 3 pack has now become a top 2. It's Zorzo and Rapassa as Campbell Adams slams in another fastest lap, showing that the circuit is getting quicker. But I don't think quite yet it is time for the dry compound tyres. What do I know, though, as Abdullah Boulaish makes his way past Tom Roberts into P11. Tom Roberts trying to make his way back past. Not enough grip yet for Boulaish offline to make that move. And he stays in P12 for the time being. So I think it will be the time in the next couple of laps. I think now is a good time for them to come in, but it's not quite yet that the switch should be made. Lamas makes his way past Beisner, as we'll see where the engineers think they should come in. Is it going to be for another lap? Zorzo and Rapassa continue. So do most of the lead pack, but in comes Arling and Lamas. And, well, it's starting to switch now between those dry compound tyres and those wets as to the time that it is. I think it's going to be maybe next lap or the lap after that will be the ideal lap. But as Chontos tries to close in, it's now going to be a very, very close race between the mediums and the inters.
Yeah, I saw having... Oh, there goes one of the Red Bulls. That's Tom Roberts in the background, I believe, smashing into the barriers. Not sure what happened there, whether he lost grip or was fighting with somebody, but that's another big moment for the Englishman right there, and it's another horrible race. Looks like it might potentially be for his home race. It's not looking too good for Tom Roberts right there. I also wanted to say that Gabor has lost 3 seconds, now almost 4 seconds to the Inter runners, so that means the track is still a little bit too wet, but definitely a lot of drivers disagree with that statement, as they have all decided to go for the dry compound tires. I believe several drivers here going white. Kien Goedendorp, for example, went a little bit white. Steven Vaso is trying to hold on to his car, but look at those drivers. Those cars drifting through the corners. The tires getting very hot through those corners indeed. And Kian is just barely holding onto the track. Same goes for Steven and Angelo, but they are still continuing on to the inters. But I believe the top two, yep, there they are, coming into the pit lane to switch to the dry compound tires. Now they believe is the moment to switch. Whoa, Steven Vaso backing off at the last millisecond, just before the pit lane little pole thingy right there, as he goes around for another lap. These three drivers have decided that it is still too wet for the dry tires. We can see another yellow flag coming out. I believe that is Thomas Lang spinning out of control, and the top three is getting awfully close to him right now. He's still stuck in the grid, as you can see right there. Not looking too great for him either. Wow, look at that there. Angelo D'Ortenzio defending from Steven Vaso. I haven't seen any message from DRS being enabled yet, which is usually, for the game at least, the indication that the track is dry enough. You can see there the rear wings do remain closed. Only 5 cars now remain on those dry tires. I'm trying to see what the difference between Gabor and Lucas is, but there have been 2 cars now slotted in between them. I am a little bit of quick math show that the gap is still about 15 seconds. That means Gabor is starting to gain now on Lucas Meissner, meaning that the track is definitely starting to turn around for the better for those dry tire runners. Campbell Adams is right in the middle of them on his intermediate tires, as Kian does get a time penalty, 3 seconds to his name, which will definitely not help his big charge through the field as Thomas Lang retires as well. 4 retirements so far. 16 drivers remain. Campbell hasn't given up yet. He's hoping for a safety car to save his race, as we are now on lap 10. 5 drivers on the inters. The rest has switched to the mediums.
Campbell, to be fair, is showing the quickest pace of everybody. He keeps banging in fastest laps, but he's going to have to be careful, as that's a 3-second time penalty for Luca Rapassa. That will take him up. Well, that's only 3 seconds, but Steven Vaso comes in, which is potentially a sigh of relief for Godendorp and D'Ortenzio, or Godendorp and D'Ortenzio, as they head on to lap 11. And because some of the moves that Vaso's been making this race will make these drivers slightly nervous, as there goes Thomas Lang out of the pits, and that is the reason for those yellow flags in this sector. Vaso drops down to P5. It is going to be one of the longest in terms of time pit lanes on the calendar. It's not that long, but they have to go 37 miles an hour throughout the entire thing. I believe that's 50 kilometers, so that is a long,
60,
long
actually.
time. Is it 60? Okay. I said, yes. I think I said 50 yesterday, and I was wrong, but that's fine. 60 is... is the pace that you have to go through there, as Balazs demonstrates the switch, and that is him up into the fastest lap of this race. As Campbell Adams, continuous wheel issues, and that does very much look like a wheel issue there, just not being able to turn the car. And yep, back into the wall again. That's fine. The other Ferrari having an incident with Tim Tornimo.
What's happened here?
Not sure what's happened down this main straight here, but it's another virtual safety car. And Tim and Tom just appear to have been stopped on the main straight after contact between the two. Okay, sure, fine. They're back going again. So not sure whether that was intentional. Don't think it was, but a virtual safety car out gives a perfect opportunity for Godendorp and Angelo D'Ortenzio to come into the pits. Takubi and Meissner as well will, I'd imagine, come in, and that will be a switch from everybody apart from Adams onto the dry set of tyres. 15 laps to go in this race. It will be 14 as Godendorp crosses the line, and we'll see where these two come out. It's actually a full safety car now, as I believe Adams had some more issues down the straight. Yeah. And well, this is an even more perfect opportunity.
It is definitely. The top 3 have wisely decided to stay out just long enough to allow themselves to pit under safety car conditions. I saw somebody getting a drive-through penalty there as they entered the pit lane. Gabor gets a penalty as well, but he's left the session and retired as well. He's had enough of tonight's race. That means now Kian is gonna be definitely in the lead of the race. Gabor was trying to get into that lead right there, but Diego has slotted into second. Luca Ripassa has slotted into third, and Angelo D'Ortenzio has to take P4 for now. But safety car out. Track is ever getting drier every single lap. Takubi right now into P5. Lucas Meissner will be happy to see he's managed to get P6 after all the shenanigans. Other drivers who are already on the dry compounds have decided to box as well for a fresh set of tires. Of course, that the obligatory pit stops to switch from one compound to another. Of course, thrown out of the window due to the conditions, meaning they can just take another set of medium tires, then go to the front group and try from theirs. They will now have the freshest tires of the field. Diego and Luca have decided to not pit under these conditions and try to take track position to their advantage. So let's just hope for their sakes that it will work out for them indeed. We're watching right now the lap times of Tom Roberts. Gotten 2 penalties on lap number 11, as you can see right there. We're still unsure what happened between Tim and Tom. We're trying to figure that one out.
Well, Tom's got 2 drive-through penalties, which is what I was trying to demonstrate. He's picked up, for speeding under the safety car. So, interesting.
Ouch. Yeah, that's definitely thrown his race down the drain, because, of course, you cannot take drive-through penalties under safety car conditions. Any time penalties you can get removed when the safety car, the virtual safety car, is out. But drive-throughs, no, you're going to have to wait until the safety car is back in and then serve them, which means Tim Tornimo's race is likely over by this point, which is a shame, because he was getting through the field quite easily with all the carnage happening after a disastrous qualifying. And now it looks like the race has turned into a disaster as well. We can see Steven Vaso going back into the pit lane once more. Let's see what he is going to do right there. I'm not sure whether he has front wing damage or not, or whether he wants to change his tires to get the freshest of the field. But it's definitely going to cost him some positions.
Yeah, and he's been given a 10-second time penalty, so I'm not sure whether he'll be able to serve it here. I think he might be serving it, which is annoying because it's one of those things on F1 where you can't really deal with it, because he's come into the pits and he's been given a 10-second time penalty for overtaking under the yellow flags, which is just disappointing for Steven. I'm sure it will be, and he's switched actually onto the set of soft, so I think they're going to try and run those to the end. But yeah, Steven Vaso unlucky there to pick up a 10-second time penalty for simply trying to come into the pits. You've got Tim Tornimo in the pits, Campbell Adams still trundling around in P15. I don't think the field is going to wait for him. I think we're going to be getting going once again on this lap 13. Although possibly Tim Tornimo has been sitting in that pit box for an incredibly long time. He's changing that wing. So did Steven Vaso, who switched strategies onto the softs. But Tim was sitting there for an incredibly long time, and he's just come out of the pits now. And he will drop even behind his teammate Campbell, who comes across the line and moves up into P14. They've all bunched up, apart from Vaso, Adams and Tornimo. Vaso, of course, would be up with the pack, if not for that penalty. Slightly nervous about Tom Roberts' race now. He is, of course, picking up those 2 drive-through penalties. And, well, he will be racing like there is no tomorrow, I would imagine. But it's whether he decides to serve those 2 penalties first before he ends up doing that. Fair play, though, to the Shazoo man for still going, because I think a lot of these drivers on this field have retired for a lot less. Gabo Shontos, for example, not fighting for a podium anymore, so decides to sack it all in, I guess. Doesn't make sense for Gabo to have done that, because only one position doesn't get points, and with Campbell Adams and Tim Tornimo and Tom Roberts as well, who will all be so far off the pack, it would have been guaranteed points for Gabor. But it is what it is, really, and I don't know what the thinking is behind that. There is, though, another lap under the safety car, so we are going to wait for the 2 Ferraris to come in as Tom Roberts comes into the pits. And, well, I would try to keep track of him, but he's jumping up and down the field like a madman. He comes into the pits now. He will pit, and he will switch his front wing, so potentially contact under the safety car. Just Tom Roberts' race just goes from worse to worse to worse. It's just really dropping off, and now he's even behind Campbell Adams, who appears to be the benchmark of a bad race so far today. Campbell, though, will catch up to the pack, and he'll be in P13. Tom will be put 14th, and the man that he made contact with, Tim Tornimo, will be in P15. So these 2 drivers right at the bottom of the field really, really will struggle to make anything of this race. But Tim, new set of tyres. He's actually come out ahead of Tom Roberts, and he's on a set of the mediums, as I think. Not sure what's happening there. I thought Tim had been given the instruction to hand it back, but they seem to be dancing and swapping positions. Tom appears to be holding on to this one, but with 2 drive-through penalties. That's his race pretty much done and dusted. 12 laps to go in this one, and Gian Or no, it's Kian Goedendorp. I said I got it on the wrong word, but he leads this one away with the freshest set of the medium tyres.
Indeed, he does, and that puts him at a double advantage, but he does have that 3-second time penalty, which I doubt will be removable, as he managed, I think, to get it all on his own by going off the track 3 times too many. That means 3 seconds to his name. Luca Rapasa, the other Dutchman as well, in third position, has a time penalty to his name, and then the third Dutchman of Sam Harding in P7 with no penalty whatsoever. Tom Roberts, of course, I believe he was just ahead at the safety car line from Tim Tornimo, meaning he was allowed to keep the position. We just, I believe, saw there the Haas of Stephen Vaso crashing into Pascal Ranieri in the background as they all slowed down as the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Meaning Kian Goedendorp will be leading the field to the finish line. With just under half the race to go, he's going to have to put up an almighty show to keep them all behind, at least on paper, because he needs at least a 3-second gap to those drivers behind, and there are some quick ones, especially Diego Zorzo right behind him. Of course, Luca was on for a provisional pole at the start of the qualifying session. They are definitely going to put some pressure on. Angelo D'Ortenzio, I think we shouldn't rule him out either. And then there's Takubi, Lucas Beister, and many others who are also eager for a victory tonight. With 15 drivers remaining, even Campbell Adams has gotten close to the points. Even with his wheel issues, he hasn't given up. We saw Kian there speeding up a little bit, slowing down again. He's gonna wait until the very last moment to speed up. There he goes, but it looks like Diego was very much awake, and he's already side by side. Luca Rapasa is gonna have to defend hard against Angelo D'Ortenzio as well, because he was pretty much already on the move as soon as the flag went into the green mode. And there they go, racing once again, and there goes Angelo D'Ortenzio, tipped around by the other Mercedes of Takubi. Not intentional, I'm certain, just a racing incident right there, but looks like that's gonna be another nightmare to add to D'Ortenzio's race tonight, as he was moving up the field so much. Looks like he's now tumbled all the way down to last position, as Campbell's got a time penalty right there. Lucas Beisner versus Sam Arling side by side as they go through left field right there, and it looks like Sam Arling for now has gotten past. Up into P5 he goes, desperately trying to catch up the top 4. They do not want to see the top drivers run away again like they did at the start of the race. But it looks like Lucas Beisner is definitely going to keep up the pressure, but there's more pressure from behind as Abdullah Boulaish is going to go side by side with him through the twisty section right here. Maggots, Baggets, and Chapel. And it looks like Abdullah has managed to do it as Lucas Beisner has wisely backed out. Now it's Tim Tornimo dropping down the field, one of the Ferraris. I thought for a moment Campbell had issues again, but it looks like it's Tim this time, with some more issues for himself. Reis Imtiaz now fighting Lucas Beisner. Lucas is not a happy man at the safety car restart. He's only lost positions ever since the safety car came back in, but he's gonna try and defend anyway against Reis Imtiaz, who's been on a roll as well from the back of the field all the way now up into what should be P7, as Tom Roberts is gonna serve the first of his 2 drive-through penalties, unfortunately, as he's in the pit lane right there. And then, as you can see on the minimap, the top 4 has managed to get away once again, as Reis Imtiaz is going to go for another dive, nearly plowing himself to the back of his own teammate, out of all people. But Lucas Beister is not going to lose another position. He's decided to defend this one as hard as he possibly can. DRS, of course, has already been enabled, as the track is now dry enough for these things to be allowed. And Lucas Beisner, for now, keeps the position. Angelo D'Ortenzio desperately trying to get back up to the position he had at the safety car restart. Up to P12, past Campbell Adams, who's still stably driving around in circles. It is, yes, at the back of the field, but it is closer to the points than he probably ever would have dared to hope with the issues he's been having.
Well, closer to the points. He's in the points, Campbell is, and he's in P13. Of course, not many points. But the top 10 is where the real points are at, and Campbell is going to now try to fight his way up, as is Angelo, who's trying to find his way through again. He chose at the start of the race to fight from the back of the field. Well, this time it's not a choice, but he's going to have to do it regardless, and he's going to continue up with the next driver up being Pasquale Ranieri is further up. There's further battles for Lucas Beisner in this one, with Alex Lamas right on the rear, looking to the outside, just stuck it back in, and not making that move as it stands. They're going to ride the sausage curb and head out to the main straight for the 17th time, and the track is getting even faster. Fastest lap pumped in by Luca Rapasa in P3. The top 4 are now 1.4 seconds ahead of Abdullah Boulaish, but that gap is sort of stabilising, if not coming down, and so Boulaish is the right person to lead this one, as Imtiaz and Arling behind him are fighting away. Arling trying to hold the inside. It's the outside line for Imtiaz, and he's going to sweep through and up into P6, but he's lost that DRS range to Balaish, and Balaish is closer than ever to the top 4 as the top 2 and 3 are fighting. Zorzo and Rapassa, fastest first sector for Luca Rapassa, last season's champion. Now he tries to fight again to take that race lead. But first he's got to get through Diego Zorzo. The top 2 in this championship so far have been Houdendorp and Rapassa, and they're going to continue to try to do so. But Rapassa needs to make his way past Zorzo. He's going to fight into Maggots, and Diego Zorzo smartly backing out of it. And Rapassa has been set free to fight with Houdendorp. However, penalties for the top 2 and no penalty for Zorzo or Takubi means that this could be an entirely different winner off-track than off-track. Rapassa heads through, as does Zorzo on Houdendorp with the DRS. But Rapassa ends up continuing to lead this one. He's the new race leader, taking it off Houdendorp in that last lap. And he is up into the lead as we head on to lap number 18.
Yeah, you can see Diego's taking no risks. He knows the 2 Dutchmen have penalties, and that means he doesn't have to race them as hard. I do not know how many warnings he's got, but it looks like he's quite safe from them, and that's the reason why he's just backing out if that's the wisest thing to do, not racing them too hard to make sure he doesn't get those penalties. More racing, though, happening right behind the top 3. You can see here Angelo D'Ortenzio fighting Alex Lamas and Pascal Ranieri. Both of them, he's hoping for them to stay behind him, as he wants to look at the front rather than behind him at the moment. His fellow Italian there, Pascal Ranieri, is moving positions as well. The pole sitter now up to P11. Not a great race for him so far. We also saw the Haas drivers swap positions there. Steven Vaso now ahead of Race Imtjes. They've been harassing Lucas Beisner a few laps ago, and he's now fallen down to P9 with Sam Arling in between himself and both Haas cars. Now it's Steven's job to stay with Abdullah Boulaish, who's almost 1 second away from them. And look at this right here. Takubi is all over the back of Kian Goedendorp. He wants to get past as well. He certainly finds himself with a shot of victory right now. And their pace has allowed Abdullah to catch up as well as the rest of the field. Abdullah just doesn't get DRS yet, meaning he's gonna have to drive a little bit faster through the corners as well. Look at that. He's definitely gaining time. And there comes Kian Goedendorp trying to defend against Takubi. The Belgian driver right there still sitting in P4, knowing that at least he'll finish 2nd place at the moment. But from behind, new threats are closing in the form of the Aston Martin of Abdullah and several other cars joining him in the fray for victory.
Yes, and, well, it's close now as Balaish and Vaso are in the DRS. I'm sure Imtiaz and Arling will make it through into it as well. And if Imtiaz does make it in, that means that the top 13 are within DRS range of Luca Rapassa. So, crunch time for those. P7 and down. Can Imtiaz make it back into that DRS? Balaish has been successful. Imtiaz is actually losing time to his teammate. And this is not necessarily good teamwork between Vaso and Imtiaz. They're going to try to fight for it, the further down drivers, as Imtiaz tries to close in on Vaso. Arling tries to pressure him along, and then Angelo D'Ortenzio, who's been one of the quickest drivers in this race, just hasn't had the position, whether it was at the start, starting from the back, or whether it was mid-race, dropping down the field as Ranieri shaped up a move on Beisner, but wisely backed out of it. They're going to come out on the exit one more time, heading down the DRS straight. And who is going to get past Imtiaz first? It's going to be Arling. Is it going to be D'Ortenzio as well as Houdendorp and Rapassa swap? It's 3 wide for P7. D'Ortenzio's through. Arling's trying to go on the outside line. Imtiaz is going to fight this one harder than he did D'Ortenzio. And they're going to be side by side still as they head into the final corner. Who's going to come out on top? It's Imtiaz pushing Arling wide, and through goes Ranieri up into P8. The RB making that move stick and just sensing an opportunity and grabbing it with both hands. Diego Zorzo's back into the lead of this one. Luca Rapassa trying to retake the position. He and Houdendorp know that they have to make these moves once again. Roberts, 43 seconds off the pack, 3 more seconds behind. But the battle for the top few positions continues as the top 6 now in DRS. And you'd imagine that Angelo is the best driver in P7 or below to catch up to this group. But he's 1.8, 1.9 now seconds behind. So his work is cut out. The top 6 are likely to be the ones to scrap it out for the race victory as we head on to lap 20 of 26.
Yeah, another top 6. The 2 drivers in P5 and 6, Abdullah and Steven, are on the soft tires. The other 4 are on the mediums, which means they will have the tire advantage by the end of the race. That means Abdullah Boulaish and Steven Vaso might struggle at the final few laps. You can see here, Luca Rapace is pretty much pushing Diego Zorzo through the Maggots and Beckett's corners right there as they come out on to the next straight right there. DRS open once again on lap 20 of 26 right there. They're gonna swap positions. Looks like Luca definitely wants back the lead of the race. Kian wanted to get past as well, but Diego closed the door, allowing Takubi to get through. The Mercedes drivers are doing a brilliant job of attempting to control the race right here. Takubi is definitely, there he goes, past the Dutchman, into P3 he goes. Abdullah has defended hard against Steven Vaso. I believe they're still going side by side come lap 21, and there's Kian also side by side, but Takubi back he goes into P3. Whatever is going on, he really wants to keep the position, and wow, Steven Vaso with an almighty dive against Abdullah, tries to get side by side with him, and then locks up, nearly loses control of the car and spins out of the race right there. But thankfully for him, he's managed to keep it under control. But it does have allowed Angelo D'Ortenzio and the other drivers behind to catch up once again. They were 1.9 seconds behind 2 laps or go, and now the gap has been reduced to about a second, and Angelo is going to have to drive the wheels under his car away to get back with the rear wing open on the final few laps to get back into the contention for victory. He spun out after Takubi tapped him on safety car restart, but he's almost back in business with the others to fight for the win.
Yes, he's almost with them, 9 tenths behind as Tom Roberts finally does give up in this race. So he did so well to fight through those 2 drive-throughs, but eventually he decided to call it quits. We're going to go down the DRS straight once again. Are we going to see any moves being made? Not quite, as we sit behind Tim Tornimo, who's crashed into Maggots, and that is another virtual safety car. The race has been neutralised by Tim Tornimo, and we've had 2 retirements within the last 2 corners, or the last 2 seconds of that race. Roberts first in the pits, Tornimo second into Maggots, and those 2 who made contact earlier on to cause that first safety car are now out of the race. We've got top 13 left in this race. Lucas Bison down at the bottom. Campbell Adams doing well in P12 just to keep going, and he shows that, well, not retiring from the race tends to be a good thing. Luca Rapace leads this one. Diego's also in P2. Has lost that DRS under the VSC. He's going to try and get back into it, I would imagine. But just a little bit of neutralisation towards the end of the race. We've had many a safety car restart so far this season. It's going to be a virtual safety car restart late on in this one. And Rapace, like he has many a time before, will lead us away. You're here in X1.
Yep, a few more laps to go, and we're waiting for the green flag to get underway, and there it goes. And Takubi went a little bit wide coming into left field right there, but he's managed to keep Steven Vaso behind for now. It looks like Steven is already on him. He saw him making a mistake, and it's actually Abdullah he's pretty much on right now. As ahead of Abdullah, it's actually Takubi, and Steven Vaso saw what happened right there. It's getting awfully close, but Takubi's also getting really close. Kian Goedendorp is getting close to Diego Zorzo as well. It's still anybody's game, but those soft tires do not seem to give up just yet, which is of course great news for those who are using those tires at the moment. As we're on lap 22 already. There goes Steven Vaso with a dive once more on Abdullah. He's getting forced to the outside, but he will have the inside light come the next corner. Steven Vaso dives once again. He really wants the position from the Aston Martin. Can he do it though? He's got the inside light once again, and he does get the position, and immediately Angelo D'Ortenzio decides to get past as well because he saw the fighting happening. He took the opportunity immediately and goes back up into P6. That means only 5 cars in between himself and the victory once more, but he still's got to deal with Abdullah, the Aston Martin he's driving, as that looks like Abdullah's wants to have nothing to do with the overtake that Angelo's just done. Now Pascal's all over the back of both of them as well as they head towards Brooklands. Once more, Angelo with a huge dive bomb, outbrakes himself completely, allowing Abdullah back past, but he immediately recovers, and that means he's still got another shot at P6. It's like he's fighting for victory. That's how hard he's fighting at the moment. He wants to stay with the top 5 as well, as he now finally gets that 6th position under control. It was a big dive, but it worked out in the end for the Alpine driver. A brilliant move, and there comes Pascal Ranieri. It looks like the soft tires are starting to fall off a little bit, but also nearly falling off the track there is Pascal Ranieri. Abdullah has once to defend as hard as he can, but he's starting to realize he's losing grip. And now the next one attacking him is Ray Zimtias. The other Haas car is wanting to get past as well. And will he successfully do so? It's getting quite chaotic with 5 cars nearly going pretty much into each other's gearbox right there. Pascal now does get out ahead, but he gets pushed right there by Ray Zimtias as they go through the final 2 corners. What's happening behind them right there? Abdullah's lost another position to Sam Arling. Alex Lamas and even Campbell Adams are getting closer to them as well as Lucas Beisner's nightmare continues. His race pace is not there anymore after the safety car restart, and crucially, the top 6 once again has gotten away from the other group that is now being led by Ray Zimtias.
Yeah, Imtiaz making that move on Rani Alias. There's a few interesting sends there from Campbell Adams, just trying to gain those positions back, and he's up into P10 successfully. As well, it's 2 DRS trains forming, 1 to 6, 7 to 13, as Lucas Bison, lucky that the drivers ahead of him have decided to scrap so hard, and he's been able to make it back into it, as Abdullah Balash is actually ghosting, and Campbell Adams has been able to make his way through, up into P10, and quite literally through. But Abdullah Balash on the exit is just going to get that position with the straight line speed, and they're going to go, are they side by side? They are side by side. Whoa. And Campbell Adams just about making that move stick, but that was gutsy from the Ferrari. Lamas and Balash now side by side, and well, it's so difficult to go side by side through here. Balash's soft compound tyres falling off, especially so now, as around he goes, not quite going all the way around, but having a half spin after trying to go side by side with Lamas. And now he drops off the back of the field. Kudendorp, in the meantime, fighting with Del Tenzio for P2. It's hard to stop here in X1 as all the action continues on. Zorzo holding on to P2. Kudendorp can't do anything to get past. Takubi and Angelo Del Tenzio are waiting for moves. Kudendorp's going to try and get past into turn 1. Can he make this move stick? It's around the outside. It's a switch to the inside for turn number 3. Can he hold on, or has Zorzo got it? Around the outside he goes. It's a switch to the inside for turn number 4. Can he do it? As he comes out on the exit, it's Zorzo up on top. It's Zorzo into P2. And Rapassa continues to hold this lead. Takubi and Angelo Del Tenzio now trying to get involved in this battle. It's to the inside for Hudendorp once again. Del Tenzio and Takubi are side by side for P4. And they're going to stay side by side for P4. Takubi around the outside. He's been boxed in by Hudendorp. And he's going to try to go the long way around. Is it a move into Cops? It may well be. They're both boxed in by Godendorp. They've got nowhere to go other than side by side. And it's going to still be side by side between the two. Takubi running slightly off the track. Hudendorp and Zorzo still fighting away. These 4 are barely split by a hair. Veso right behind trying to get involved as well. Rapassa is so happy about this fighting because it means he can try to break away. Hudendorp is going to get the DRS on Zorzo as he tries to make this move once again up into the final couple of corners of this racetrack. He's made that move. It's P2 for Zorzo. Godendorp still trying to fight back. And, well, he holds on to P2 for now. But the action heads on to the final lap of this Grand Prix.
It's definitely going to be a close one right here. Diego realizes that Luca is starting to escape as the fighting gets harder and harder and fiercer. It is definitely going to be a little bit scary there. It nearly went terribly wrong as Abdullah retires in the pit lane at the last lap. He would have gotten points in P13. Now he's not going to get them as he's now going to be noticed as DNF on the finish list right there. But there, Diego Zorzo is now in trouble because there's Angelo D'Ortenzio and 2 other drivers trying to get past him as well. And suddenly his potential race victory is in jeopardy as D'Angelo gets past, Steven Vaso gets past, and Takubi as well. Diego all the way down to P6, but as they're fighting ahead, he's gonna wait out until the chaos unfold, I'd say, because so far, he's been a very smart racer indeed. While everybody's been fighting hard, he's just been waiting patiently for the perfect opportunity. But right now, it might be too little too late as he's down in 6th place. There's 2 drivers ahead of him who do not have a penalty to their name, as Steven Vaza, I believe, just got one at the final half a lap of this race. But now then, the fighting is happening. Angelo D'Ortenzio has got this victory in the bag as long as he can hold the drivers behind. Still behind him come the next corner. Does he get that opportunity? Luca versus Kian. They're fighting for whatever position they will finish in. Kian does get ahead of Luca Rapassa, pushes him very right. He goes off track as well as both Dutchmen fighting so hard bump into each other. It's like they're playing bumper cars through the final 2 corners. They nearly run each off, and there comes Angelo D'Ortenzio. Almost. What a move there. He fights off the 2 fighting Dutchmen, and he does claim victory not only on paper but on track as well. And that is what you would call a recovery after that safety car restart.
Yeah, I mean, the camera angle didn't quite catch the move from Angelo De Hortensio, but what a move it was under pressure. And he sealed that race victory. In the end, Rapasa and Godendorp, or Goedendorp even, had penalties, which meant they would have dropped back not only 3 seconds, but I believe they both went up to 6 seconds. And it was Angelo who took that P1 to Kubi in P2, and it was a P3 for Diego Zorzo, who started on the front row. Absolute carnage, but that is exactly what we get every single race finish here in X1. It's Angelo De Hortensio coming out on top in the end, on track as well as off it with Takubi in P2. And you can see in the background the rain has started again in Britain, but we were able to ward it off and get a dry race. And what a race it was. De Hortensio taking victory, Takubi in P2, Zorzo in P3 with Pasquale Ranieri, despite that awful race start, just fighting through it and moving up to P4. Then it's Imtiaz, Lamas, Beisner, Veso, Arling, Goedendorp, Repassa, and Campbell Adams, with Abdullah Balesh in the end being classified. Then it's Tornimo, Roberts, Shontos, Lang, Tanasi, Linhart, and Welch rounding out the field. But that race was absolutely full to the brim with carnage. And I think at the end, it was one of the cleaner races that we've had this season. It was not without its incidents, but I think overall that was just incredible racecraft. And well, when we get incredible racecraft, we get an incredible race, and that is exactly what we've just had.
Indeed it was, and a winner I think that was quite deserved. He lost it all when Takubi tapped him around the safety car restart, and he still managed to win anyway. I mean, he just waited out until the perfect opportunity, and then when Kian and Luca decided to battle hard for whatever position they would finish in, he was like, thank you very much, I'll take it, goodbye, and thanks for the victory. And there he was, as winner of the race. Well done to him.
Yes, and well, despite all the hardships today, Angelo De Hortensio demonstrating why he is one of the best here in, well, X1, in league racing in general, and it's only a matter of time before he, well, when he turns, I believe it's 16, he will be in the eyes and in the notebooks of all of the F1 esports teams, you would imagine, as well, he's racked up the championships, he's racked up a race victory here, and well, he's trying to split the Dutch dominance at the top of the standings at the moment. We will round it out here, but that was an incredible race on our hands. It was yet another race that was jam-packed, full of action, and that is exactly what you want out of an X1 race. We will see you again next time. But until then, it is goodbye.